afternoon. We're looking at alternating dynamic parameters. It's basically parameters. We're going to just do some changes that we did from last week. Let me go ahead and go through my little spiel here. 20-second commercial while everybody else is still logging on. We're going to create two dynamic parameters. We're going to change the selection records where it's going to alternate between one or the other. Now, one thing that hit me today about this is that we still have folks that are using Crystal Reports XI, and some that are on 2008, and some are even on using 2011. Now, today what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this dynamic parameters, do the alternation. I'm going to show you in 2008 and also at XI because it works the same, but there's a little bit of difference on how it works, and so I'm going to show you what the differences are and depending on which one you're going to use. Okay, now here's the 20-second commercial. We do Crystal Reports. We also do training using your data to build your reports. You can contact myself or Tom Zidell. Here's our email addresses and phone numbers, and I'll have this up again. Now, I need to slow down a little bit and start talking a little bit slower. I realize I kind of zip through this stuff at times. Let me go to the next one. Our next session, you know, I've got some requests from you viewers. And so I've got a few requests, and next week we're going to do our next session. We're going to, this is a request from one of you guys. We're going to change a number parameter to display as a string. Now, the thing is, in a grouping or a field is pretty easy, but when you want to have your parameter listing, it's a little bit different. There's a couple ways to do that, and we're going to look at that next week. That was a request. So if you have requests that you'd like for me to do, send it up here or email it to me, and I will try to fit it in. So here we go. Alternating parameter, dynamic parameters, to be specific. So let's go into our Crystal Reports here, and there's our XI. We'll come back to that in just a second. So I'm going to create, first of all, I'm going to create one parameter and show you why I wouldn't use it that way. Why I wouldn't use it that way. Why am I even saying it that way? Why would I not use it that way? So let's go in, and I forgot to take this out, didn't I? So let me get rid of this. I was playing with this earlier. So I'm going to go in, and I want to, for instance, here's my parameter. I want to be able to have customer ID and customer name. Now, usually you'd see it like this, where it would be a dynamic parameter. So let me select that first, and I'm going to call this test, just because I'm going to get rid of this in just a second and do it a different way. So I'm going to go in, and I'm going to choose my source, and I'm going to show customer ID, and then I want to have description as customer name. And we're going to leave it just like that, because I'm going to get rid of this in just a second. The problem with this is I go in, and I'm going to connect this to the filter. So it's going to be customer ID. I'm going to click OK here. It's going to be where customer ID is equal to our parameter, which we would call test. I click OK. Now it's going to pop up. It's going to ask me what's the customer ID. Well, here's the customer ID and the name. The problem is, what happens if I know the customer by number? I may know this number, or I may know the name. It's like sometimes invoices, I'll know the invoice number, but I'm not sure what the description is. I can bring up both. This is in how I do it. What I want to do is I want to separate these. So I'm going to click OK here. I have to pick one because I didn't tell it to give me the option of not having anything in there. So now I'm going to go back. I'm going to take the selection criteria out of this report, and I'm going to go back, and I'm going to create two parameters. Let me delete the old one we have here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, I'm going to right-click, select New. I'm going to call this one Cust ID, and then I'm going to make it a dynamic report. Now, the thing is that whether the type's a string or not, it's not going to matter. So, because when I go down here to select the actual field itself, customer ID, it automatically changes it to a number up here. So I'm not going to worry about that. But what I am concerned about down here, the optional prompt, remember I talked about that last week, that if I change this to be true, I can make it where if I pick nothing, which means there's no value in the parameter, it'll let me pick everything. Now that's one of the changes between XI and version 2008. But I also want to be able to pick more than one value, so multiple values is true. So click OK there. Let's go and create the next parameter, New. And we're going to call this one customer. We're going to make it a dynamic parameter as well. I'm going to go down to choose a data source. We're going to pick the customer name. I'm going to go down to the optional prompt option, change that to true. And multiple value, I'm going to change that to true. Click OK here. Now I'm going to go up to our filter. The first time around, I'm going to go up to customer ID and the choose field and click OK here. And then customer ID is going to be equal to the customer ID parameter. Notice I have two parameters, only one showing. It's because the customer ID parameter is a number, the customer name parameter is a string. So I'm going to click OK there. It's going to ask me for a value, and I'm going to pick. Reason why is if I go back up to my report, selection formulas, because I picked that option prompt, it puts in here for me not has value. So I'm going to go and do the exact same thing for customer name. I'm going to go up here and go to the filter again, select new from here, select customer name, click OK. The customer name is going to be equal to our parameter called customer. I'm going to click OK. It's going to ask us for a value. I'm just going to pick 1 or 2. Click OK here. And actually, we should get just the 1, which is great. Now I'm going to go up here. I've got my values inside here. So let's go, and I'm going to refresh this report. I'm going to prompt for new parameter values. The thing is that, okay, I'm getting both lists up here, and I remember customer ID. I can't remember what their name was, but I remember they were customer 4, customer 5, and down here I'm going just to pick, it's an alphabetical order, I'm going to pick Aruba Sport. I always wanted to go to Aruba Sport, and I click OK. And the thing is that I'm getting nothing, is because the thing is that I have a customer ID and a customer name. So I need to go back to my selection criteria to report, selection formulas, go to record, and all I'm doing to make this alternating is change this to OR. And I know I've got an accent, OR as in OR, this or that. So now both of them has not value, which means it's blank, I get everything, or I can pick from one or the other. So I go back, I'm going to refresh the data, and notice I have the selections 4 and 5, and I got against the wind bikes. I don't remember picking that one in Aruba Sports. So I'm going to go back and refresh this, prompt for new parameter values. Now if you're an LBI, what's going to happen is it's going to refresh, it's going to remove all values that you selected. It's not going to keep that. So right now I picked nothing in either one. I'm going to get everything. I'm going to go back and refresh this, and now I can pick, if I want to pick just from my customer ID, I'm great, I can do that. Or I can pick from the customer name, and I can do that as well. So I should get 5 companies coming back, and there they are. Okay, that's just alternating parameters. Now the thing is this used to have to be totally different because you didn't have dynamic parameters, and I'm not going to go through that unless I get a request saying, hey, can you do it using static parameters? But let me jump over to version XI, and we're going to do, I won't say the exact same thing, similar to the same thing. I'm going up to my parameters, I'm going to select new, and here's going to be cust ID, and we're going to make this dynamic, and we're going to pick the field we're going to pick from, which is going to be the customer ID. But notice down here at the bottom, there's not an option prompt that allows me to make it where if I pick nothing, I get everything. So I'm going to go down here, multiple values, I'm going to change that to true, and that's all I'm going to change down here. So I'm going to click OK here. I'm going to go back up to my parameter fields and right-click here, select new again, and this is going to be the customer ID, customer parameter, excuse me. We'll change this to dynamic as well. I'm going to go down to choose a data source and pick the customer name here as well. There's, now, well, let me go up here to, before I tell you what the problem is, I'm going to go up here to Marble Hands and select expert, and I'm going to select the customer ID. Click OK, where customer ID is going to be equal to the customer ID parameter, and I'm going to select new here, and I'm going to select customer name. is going to be equal to customer name parameter. So here we go. I'm going to click OK. It's going to prompt me. Now look what happens. I'm going to pick let's customer 2 and 3, and I'm not going to pick anything out of the customer name, and I'm going to click OK down here, and look what happens. It's not going to let me do that. So if I want to pick 2 and 3 up here, and I pick another company down here, it's going to allow me to do that. But it's not going to allow me to get all of it's not going to allow me to get all of the IDs or all the customer names. So what I'm going to do instead, and this is kind of redundant to be honest with you, because I go up here and I hit the double lines, it gives me all. And I hit the double line here, it's going to give me all. And that's how you have to do the all function here. I mean, if you do it in SQL, there's a workaround to this. If you're not doing SQL, you'll need to do it this way. So now I click all and refresh. I'll love it when that happens. Okay, give me everything and everything. All right, I'm just not connected to, to go fix this, I'll get connected to the database. I just want to show you how, if you're going to do XI versus 2008. All right, again, let me go back to our PowerPoint presentation and put up, here's Tom Zidell. You can contact him. If you have report questions, just email me, or if you have like a request that you'd like for me to cover, I'll do that. Now let me go to questions real quick. Sometimes I get in a hurry and I don't look at questions. Let's see if we have any questions here. I don't see any questions, so I'm going to stay online for about another 5-10 minutes if you have any questions. If you have anything that you'd like for me to cover on these little, like I'm saying, it's going to be 10 to 15 minutes. If you want me to cover something specific, I'll do that. So if I can do it 10, 15 minutes, I'll do that. If I have to break it up in a couple because it's just a really, really important subject, I'll do that as well. But like I say, next week we're going to look at changing a number parameter to display as a string. The thing is that in your pick list, it pops up as a number. Like, oh, here's another one. Inside Lawson, year is a number. So when you create a parameter on a year, it shows 2,012.00. Now that can be real confusing to people. So we're going to look at that. How can I make my pick list not have any decimal places or commas, or when I display it, or an account number, because account number is a number, but you don't want to display it with decimal places or commas. So okay, I'm going to go back to questions again, see if there's any questions there. If they're not, hey, I appreciate you guys being here. I hope that you're getting a lot of these lessons, and really I'd like to hear from you. And send me any requests that you like. I'll listen. I'll read them, and I'm going to start, like I say, I'm going to start doing your requests. So have a good weekend. We'll see you guys next week.